Hey YouTube, coming at you with the Ultra League team submitted by Chaos, and they wrote pretty short and sweet. They said, I'm not a legend player, but I'm happily back playing after all the new season changes. There are a few glaring mistakes, but overall pretty good gameplay against mostly meta teams. So this is in the Ultra League. It's got a few buffed Pokemon this season. So Weezing, Fairy Wind got buffed, and Brutal Swing got buffed. And then on Galarian Moltres, Sucker Punch is the new move there. Uh, I have a Galarian Moltres for the Great League, and I always found it was kind of slow to get to the move, so I'm interested to see how Sucker Punch plays out here. And then Umbreon is a very, very bulky Pokemon in the back. You are double weak to Fairy in the back. You do have a Poison at the front, so I assume this is sort of like an ABB style. Use Umbreon or Moltres as your safe swap. Try and draw out a Fairy, and then go from there. Notice Dark Pulse on Umbreon instead of Foul Play. So let's take a look at some battles. Giratina is a dragon, but claws are neutral. They decide to get out into Registeel, so here comes an Overheat and Bail. I guess you gotta Bail into Umbreon. You don't really have a great answer. Okay, landing that is actually huge. Umbreon is your best answer because Galarian Moltres has Brave Bird and Nature Power. Both are resisted, so you have to come in here. Take the Focus Blast. Yeah, it'll do over 50%, but that's fine. Let's see how much these Dark Pulses do to Reggie. I'm guessing nowhere near enough, but 2 should be enough. Now the question is, do you outpace? Okay, interesting. So they decide to shield. I think it's worth the shield back. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to because Galarian Moltres is going to do just as well on Giratina, so you don't need to keep switch, but keeping switch is, I mean, just matching shields and seeing where you go from here is not bad because, again, even if they come back in with Giratina, Umbreon also has a good matchup. So this team pretty much covers Giratina very, very well. Getting off the Dark Pulse will take it out. Giratina will come back in. Shadow Claws are resisted. They can only throw Dragon Claw. You can obviously just take these Dragon Claws while doing very good chip with Dark Pulse. So throwing the Dark Pulse here. How much are they going to do? 30%-ish? They shield. Maybe more because Dark Pulse does more than Foul Play, but this will take you out. That's fine. Like we said, we have 2 answers for this. Are we going to come Galarian Moltres right away? So you're coming Weezing, which I guess my only argument against this would be like Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak are resisted by the Galarian Moltres. I understand Fairy Wind and Brutal Swing are also super effective, and you don't really have a super effective move on Moltres, so I guess from that perspective it makes sense. For Alligator in the back, just going to stay in, try and go back-to-back Brutal Swings here. I mean, Brutal Swing is quicker to get to, which makes it buffed in our, but it does have less damage. So now we're going to have to, if they're smart, they just try and get to like maybe 2 more claws. I was going to say 2 more claws and then throw just to get some energy, but 1 claw is fine. Get some little bit of energy, take you out. Now, can you Sucker Punch down before they take you out? Probably not. Like, not take you out, but get a move. And they bank that move. So just going straight Ancient Power, yeah, you don't want to lower your defense and then come in to take a Hydro. So getting off the Ancient Power, they do get a move. Dragon Claw will chip. Now, I don't think a Hydro, if they had one, would take out from this range anyways. It would have been close. Okay, Galarian Weezing, good lead. They get out into a Swampert, and we're going in with Moltres. So these Sucker Punches now, obviously buffed, do add up. I still think Galarian Moltres has a couple weaknesses if you have one. So the first thing is like, that was what? Now 7 Sucker Punches, something like that, just to a Brave Bird. And still doesn't take out. So now I got to shield this. It's still Sucker Punch, harder hitting move for sure than what it had with the other moves. It's still very slow on the charge, right? So you got to take, you took 3 Volt Switches, which are 4 turn moves. So you took 12 turns worth of move, and you just got to the Ancient Power. It's always, Moltres has always struggled with a move that can actually charge fast enough to get to where you need to be. And it seems like it's still no difference with Sucker Punch. Obviously, the additional damage is huge, but so they have the Obstagoon, and you still now align here. The problem is, with Brutal Swing and Overheat, you can't really throw the Overheat just yet. There's even an argument that you might want to go 1 Brutal Swing before you go Overheat. Because I would have maybe like, because they're not doing anything to you, right? Counters resisted. and Night Slash is resisted, Cross Chop is resisted. So I think in this scenario, what I would have done is Fairy Wind charges fast. So I would have gone, yeah, now you're going Brutal Swing. I would have gone Brutal Swing first, so you didn't lower your attack, and then farm up to 2 moves, and then go from there. But you decide to just bank the energy and reset there. Yeah, so maybe next time around, just do the other order. They shield a very low Obstagoon. I guess they're just going to try and get a couple Cross Chops off here, knowing that your Snarl is resisted, but they're not counting, so Dark Pulse will take them out. I mean, it's early season, so the ranks are all over the place. They do take you down with a Volt Switch. You do have a shield. You're farming up a lot here. Just letting the Trailblaze go, assuming they don't have Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch would have put you pretty close to being taken out. I guess Galarian Weezing is pretty tanky. And then just going Brutal Swing, followed by an Overheat combo here. Okay, Talonflame. Going to instant swap Umbreon. The opponent is a little behind here. Wow, you are very, very nice. I would not have waited. So here's a... Still, they catch a Dark Pulse on their Guzzlord. So now it's just Dragon moves versus the Last Resort. So this game has screwed me over enough that when I'm in a situation like this where my opponent is clearly getting screwed over, I take advantage of it, quite honestly. I used to, back in the day, do what you did and just be like, oh, okay, if they're like, if I don't need it, if I already hit Legend, or, oh, I mean, if I have already hit Legend, I'll, and then my opponent legs out, I'll definitely give it up. That hasn't changed. But like, if it was like a matchup that was like, I was destined to lose and my opponent screws up, back in the day, I probably would have just like let it go out of like sportsmanship. But 20 seasons later, I have been screwed so many times in this game. From the Android, again, everyone says it's not just Android, but Android definitely has had it the worst. It's always had it the worst for some reason. So Android has had the worst. I would have given it up in the past. Now, if my opponent legs out, I take advantage of it because it's the same situation. Like, I get screwed multiple times. I'm going to take the wins when I can. So all that to say is good on you for waiting those 2 turns to let them get back in the game. I don't know if I would have done it. So going 2 Fairy Winds and then a throw, which is smart because that's 4 turns versus the 5. So another 2 and throw. So good fast move timing on these Fairy Wind Brutal Swing combos here. You have 2 shields and need to start using them. I assume they're just going to continue to boost their attack to try and just incinerate you down because that's maybe one of their only win cons. Very easy on the timing here. Obviously, you do not need to time anymore. Once they shield this, you just... Ooh, so now you got to commit to the fast move farm down here. No, you got to commit to the fast move farm down. Oh, wait. Do they not have shields? Never mind. Sorry. Do throw. I thought they had a shield still. No, obviously throw the move when you get it. I thought they had a shield still. If they had a shield, you had to fast move farm down. But they did not, so that's fine. Going for the bait here. They do have a lot of energy, so they may shield. It was also an underpowered, or maybe not underpowered, maybe just like a bad one. But now you got Surfetch with counter nerfed and Arcanine, so I'm guessing this team is not just, this is just not a smart opponent. And that's, it's such a bad perspective to see, to like say that. It's just unfortunately the state of the game. Surfetch is nerfed into the ground because a counter got nerfed. Arcanine has never been meta relevant and is not meta relevant now. So when you have both on the team, it's fairly easy to see that your opponent knows nothing about team building or about like the meta of Ultra League, and they're probably just using whatever either, again, there's various reasons they are using these Pokemon. They just like, one, don't have any other Pokemon, or potentially they just don't understand the strengths and weaknesses of GBL and what's strong and not strong. So when you see like teams like that, especially early in the season, those are ones where it's like, oh yeah, you don't know what's going on here, unfortunately. Catch the Shadow Sneak on the Umbreon. So nice catch there. They come in Skeledirge, which is also weak to Dark. So they are already double weak to Dark, and you have 2 Darks and a third Pokemon with a Dark type move. So great for you. Disarming Voice is super effective. You're going to go to the 9 there. So again, good fast move timing. For not hitting Legend, your fast move time is down pretty strong here. I think at this you probably shield. Yeah. I think they need to get to 2 Incinerates to get to that. So another 3 is perfect there. Force their energy. And they do shield because they want to take you out or grab that second shield. So they will... you do commit the second shield. If the Giratina comes in, you caught their move. So a couple Dark Pulses back to back here will chip significantly. They may just like sacrifice. Yeah, I'm not surprised here. I would also just come in, sacrifice, and just try and one shield whatever's in the back here if I were them. Okay, no, so close. They're so close to doing the right thing. I think with your wheezing lead on a Giratina, I don't think there's a point to shield that. I think you just try and go one shield whatever's in the back. Now they're gonna like, I guess, get a claw, a sneak off. And then, oh, especially for Alligator in the back. 100% you just go one shield that. Okay. Yeah, so for those of you who are wondering, you have a Skeledirge and a Giratina who are weak to Dark. We saw a Weezing on the lead, and we saw an Umbreon on the safe swap. You grab both shields in the middle game there, knowing that your Giratina is not going to have generally a good matchup against Weezing because it's a Fairy, and you can only throw the Sneaks, and it has Fairy Wind, and now Brutal Swing is the main recommended move set. You basically just come in with Giratina, you sacrifice it, and especially with a Feraligatr in the back, this thing is one of the most dominating Pokemon in this meta. You definitely one shield that, try to run there. Rayquaza. Tis early. Okay, so they're staying in with the Rayquaza. Eventually catch... Hey, they caught a resisted move on Cobalion, so don't know if that was intended or just kind of lucky. Double kick is resisted, and you have an overheat, so... And where do you go from here if this... I was about to say, where do you go from here if this does not land? Because you couldn't come in Umbreon because everything's resisted because they're a half fighter. And they're also Steel, so yeah, and Steel and Fighting. So that was just, like, you'd have to go Brave Bird on Moltres. Luckily it lands, honestly, because you would have lowered your attack significantly with the overheat. Throwing the Ancient Power because it is super effective because they are half flying. So hit that Ancient Power. Rayquaza is very attack heavy. You do not see it much in the league because it's not a good Pokemon. Otherwise, get the farm down, throw the Brave Bird blind, doesn't really matter what it is. Cobalion, Virizion, Core in the back, which is actually really tough for what you have left, but they decide to say that's enough of this game. And then they come in with the Psychic Pokemon into an Umbreon. Yes, this thing probably has Moonblast, and that's probably where they're defaulting to. So we'll be somewhat close. Psycho Cut is obviously resisted, but Moonblast would chip here a good amount. So I get it. It's not the worst matchup, but man, I don't love bringing in a Psychic Pokemon to a Dark Pokemon here. So get the second Dark Pulse off, not enough to take it out. They'll get a second Moonblast off, not enough to take you out. And again, Psycho Cut is resisted, so it's not like they can take you out with the fast move here. So you can just comfortably let that go. Don't want to mess with a potential Grass not coming through to take you out. So you're going to force that shield or take it out. You do take it out. Talonflame is now going to farm a lot, though. So even if you land this move, Talonflame with 3 Incinerates there is a lot of energy. And they let it go, I think, smart. And now they can just start incinerating here. Not incinerates, Jesus. Flame charging here. Yeah, and just boost the crap out of this thing. And now these Incinerates are going to hurt a lot. Going Ancient Power here, hoping maybe they get a boost. I mean, it's double super effective, so it's the correct move. But they shield because, again, they are double boosted. That Sucker Punch really adding up. Ooh, I don't know about this. Banking that energy and then getting it on the Greninja. That's a lot of shield you just wasted there. I don't think there's a point of saving a Pokemon with 1 HP when your other Pokemon is so low that you can just Fairy Wind to get an energy advantage there. Yeah, this game's over. Unless you can like Brave Bird and then Sucker Punch before they incinerate. You only have Ancient Power. I don't think it's enough. Yeah, I think you had to just let that go. I think that's one of the, I don't want to call it a rookie mistake because there are times where you should shield if you have like, you need that Pokemon with energy to throw a move to take out another Pokemon in the back. Then yes, it's worth saving. But I've got to imagine that like 95 times out of 100, when you're probably even more, like 98 times out of 100, when your Pokemon has 1 HP left, and they throw a charge move, there's almost no reason to save it. Yeah, unless it has like a Brave Bird, unless your fast move is going to register, take them out, and you have like a Brave Bird to throw on the next Pokemon, sure, that's probably when like a time I'd save it. But if I just had an Ancient Power where I otherwise had a full health Weezing with a shield advantage, I would probably just take the shield, like not shield advantage, but a shield. I would take that shield on Weezing as opposed to burning it there and then having to have your Weezing try to sweep the rest of the game with no shields. It just doesn't make sense. So Gengar here, obviously great when you have 3 Pokemon that can deal with Gengar. That was a very quick one. Out comes the Como, which is going to cause problems because it's half fighting, so you can only do Last Resort here. But Last Resort does add up, and you're bulky enough that you can probably take a lot of these moves. So I don't even think a Brick Break takes you out, honestly, unless they're running close combat. Dragon Claw is not going to take you out. Yeah, Dragon Claw, Brick Break, none of them are going to take you out. So you can get another one off here, which is fine. They'll get another Dragon Tail or 2. 3, I guess. Umbreon is very tanky, which is actually worse. Coming in here and again, just basically hard punishing your opponent because they had a fighter on your fairy and then 2 ghosts on your dark Pokemon. So this is essentially a hard counter team. Just going to boost your attack. The reason Moltres isn't great is because of its attack moves, honestly. Brave Bird, yes, is a nuke, but like Ancient Power as your like best bait move is not a good move. So just gonna spam these Ancient Powers. Sucker Punch is what's doing the damage here. Knowing that you have a Weezing at the front, I think you're just gonna try and like Fairy Wind down, or just take this as low as you can and then come in here and then Fairy Wind down. Yeah. This is a pretty comfortable matchup. Not much to talk about here. They do close combat. Yeah, so they're running close combat Dragon Claw, which makes sense. But again, there's just nowhere to go. Primarina. Okay, let's see if it's Charm or Waterfall. It is Charm, so definitely worth staying in here. I mean, it's probably worth staying in here anyways because you're double weak to Charm, so this is where you would want to deal with the Charm. Just going for the Brutal Swing. Yeah, all your moves are resisted too. So Primarina kind of core breaks this team. That being said, I wouldn't change a team because Primarina beats you. Like those are the ones you just kind of like try and work around or lose, but it's not worth just like scrapping a team for that. I think at this point you maybe just try and go Overheat to take it out. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to tell you that it was unnecessary to take that move. You gotta throw that Overheat before. And they shield and then get out. Interesting. So coming in with your Moltres, taking a super effective Thunder Punch here, I'm guessing. Can live. You got to throw the Brave Bird before they get to a move here. So you do throw the Brave Bird. Is enough to take out Guja. Guja's pretty tanky, but it is enough. They come in Primarina, just delete you. That's fine. Yeah, you got to come back in and just try and throw sort of blind. Waiting out the switch timer because you're going to lower your attack times 2 here, which makes this Pokemon essentially useless. Instant out. You should be instant outing there. It doesn't really matter what they have in the back. You need to instant out. You can't just stay in with a 2 times lowered attack. Okay, so bad lead. Not bad lead, but taking super effective from the ground. Again, they're coming in with a Cresselia into an Umbreon. I mean, I get it. We saw how much Moonblast does. But it's an otherwise not great matchup for Cresselia. Moonblast does chip a bunch, though, so I can't totally dismiss it. So, launching the Dark Pulse. They'll get another Moonblast. Again, we've seen this in the other matchup, so we know that Umbreon can comfortably get to another Dark Pulse and take this out. And same thing, going right to the Dark Pulse and throwing it right away. Will take switch, and now Drapion comes in. And I want to see how aggressive this thing is going to get, because if I were them, I would debate, depending on how close, I would debate the full farm down here. Oh, I guess they just don't want to take a potential last resort there. But now you do 2 things. One, you just, okay, first of all, okay. The opponent was so close, especially with Sludge Bomb. You need to come into the farm down there. You have 2 options there. You throw before the second move, or you come into the farm down and potentially take a second move. Now, 2 things here. It's a non-shadow Drapion. The recommended movesets for Shadow Drapion is Aqua Tail, Crunch. Usually the recommended moveset for the non-shadow is Crunch, Sludge Bomb. So, not that they made a mistake by showing the move. That's fine. I mean, they made a mistake by throwing the Sludge Bomb. The Umbreon was like at 2 HP. You could just throw Crunch to take it out. And I also think like you almost want to take that second move and come out loaded with energy there. I mean, they have nothing for the Weezing because now they've shown Sludge Bomb and you know Crunch. So, oh yeah, sorry, no, duh. Sludge Bomb is neutral because of a Half Fairy. Half Fairy, Half Poison neutralizes the Sludge Bomb. They go back to back there. Going to just overheat and try to sweep with Moltres. I go now because you need to be able to reset if in a worst case scenario. And you have no option but to go Brave Bird. Going straight Brave Bird, maybe trying to catch them off guard, thinking that they wouldn't throw a Brave Bird right away. Yeah, so in those situations, they could just go Crunch. Again, I don't think they will. Okay, they did. They were smartly. And they just think they're going to outpace you. That would have been a lot closer than they think because Ancient Power is slow to get to. In those situations, going the straight nuke is not the worst idea because of that exact scenario. You would not expect that if your opponent basically only has 1 Pokemon left, that they're just going to lower their defense times 3 when you have a full health Pokemon. Because if they decided to shield, you put yourself in a very, very bad situation because that Swampert may outpace you to the Hydros and then it essentially one-shots you when you lower your defense times 3. So it's a borderline risky play, but if you can catch them sort of unexpectedly, hitting them with that move, it's, yeah, it makes sense. So thanks for the submission. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to think of just like the team comp where you'd have problems. Again, you have problems with steals to a certain extent, but you do have overheat. But otherwise, you just have to go Dark Pulse because you have nothing in the back besides just Sucker Punching. Obviously, a great answer to Giratinas, which seems to still be everywhere, and Cresses. You have a lot of answers to that. I still think Moltres is a little slow. I only have 1 Moltres, and now you have it in the Great League. I think he's still a little slow with Sucker Punch to get to the moves, but cool to see it in action. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for the submission. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.